30 minutes into the meeting, the lead executive pushed back his chair and rose to his feet. His expression sharpened in a way that made the air shift, and every person at the table went still. I could feel my manager, Elise Brandt, stiffen across the room. She had expected this moment to bury me, not turn on her. He cleared his throat. Gaze locked on me, and the room felt suspended like we all knew something irreversible was coming. But 30 minutes earlier, none of this felt possible. 5 minutes before the meeting, I had been at my desk, scrolling through the rough draft of my Canva slides, trying to fix the broken timeline graphic before the actual presentation later that afternoon. My laptop coughed every few seconds, the fan wheezing like it was begging for retirement. I told myself I still had time. I had planned to polish everything right after lunch. Then Elise appeared beside me, her voice low enough that no one else would hear. "Maren, the Ridgeline team is here. You've got 5 minutes to prepare." I blinked at her. "The meeting is at 3. It was confirmed yesterday." "Plans changed," she said, tucking a strand of perfectly ironed hair behind her ear. "Hurry. Do not make us look unprepared." She didn't wait for my answer. She walked off like she had been waiting all morning for this exact moment. I clicked through my files, knowing nothing was ready. Half the visuals were missing. The data slides were placeholders. And my laptop, bless its tired, outdated heart, froze the second I tried to export anything. I grabbed it anyway and followed the sound of voices down the hallway. Inside the conference room, Elise introduced me with a bright, confident tone. "This is Maren Holt, our lead analyst. She is fully prepared to guide you through our proposal." Fully prepared. Elise said those words like she wanted to savor the lie. Now. Back in the present, the executive who had been silent until now stood over the table, looking directly at me. Elise's smile collapsed completely. Whatever he was about to say, it was not the outcome she had engineered. I held my breath as he opened his mouth to speak. When I first joined Summit Edge Analytics, nobody expected much from me. I was the woman who kept her head down, the one who solved problems quietly while louder people took up the air in the room. After a year and a half, people started dropping files on my desk with a half-joking, half-pleading line. "If anyone can fix this, Maren can." I never asked for the nickname, but it clung to me anyway. The quiet fixer. Back then, my manager was a man who valued results more than politics. But when he transferred to Boston, Elise Brandt arrived from San Diego with a portfolio full of polished smiles and ambitious talking points. During her first team meeting in Denver, she scanned the room like she was assessing assets and threats. When her eyes landed on me, something tightened in her expression. Later that day, she stepped into my doorway. "I hear you handle complex accounts," she said. "I manage what comes my way," I replied. Her lips curled, not a smile, more like calculation. "Good. Just remember that structure and hierarchy matter here. Creativity is fine, but only if it aligns with leadership." It was the first line she ever drew between us. Over the next few weeks, I noticed subtle changes. A standing strategy meeting I had led for over a year disappeared from my calendar. When I asked about it, Elise said, "Oh, I streamlined it. I'll take it from here." Reports I had written came back with her name at the top. The director even congratulated her once for a recovery plan I had spent 4 nights building. I confronted her gently. "If there's an issue with my work, I'd rather hear it from you." "No issue," she answered, smoothing her blouse. "You just move fast, sometimes too fast. It can confuse upper management." I understood then she didn't want a fixer on her team unless she could claim the fix as her own. And if that was already true, something far greater must have pushed her toward sabotaging a deal worth $50 million. The day the Ridgeline opportunity landed on our desks, the entire floor buzzed. A Colorado-born retail powerhouse expanding across the Midwest, looking for an analytics partner to manage their growth, $50 million on the line. Elise called an impromptu meeting, her voice syrupy with excitement. "This is our chance to reposition Summit Edge," she said, pacing in front of us. And Maren will take point on the development work. I looked up sharply. Me. She nodded, too smoothly. You have a reputation for solving what others complicate. Use that. It should have felt like trust. Instead, it felt like stage setting. Still, I threw myself into the work. For 6 weeks, I met with the Ridgeline team, listened to their concerns about inconsistent customer patterns in new markets, and built a predictive model around their expansion data. I crafted a Canva deck that could explain the complexities clearly, though several visuals still needed polish. Every day I told myself I had time. The presentation was scheduled for Friday afternoon. I planned to finalize everything that morning. On Thursday evening, as I packed my bag, Elise appeared at my desk. I need you in the conference room. Compliance review. At 7 o'clock, I asked. It will not take long, she said, already walking away. It took 3 hours. Most of the questions were irrelevant. Some were repeated twice. At one point, I said, Elise, I need to prepare for Ridgeline. She didn't look up from her papers. This is preparation. Do not rush me. By the time she released me, the cleaning crew had started vacuuming the hallway. My Canva deck remained half-finished, and my laptop battery was nearly dead. Elise smiled faintly as I packed up. Get some sleep, she said. She knew exactly how little time I had left. I arrived early on Friday, determined to fix every unfinished visual before the afternoon meeting. My laptop wheezed as it powered up, but I whispered encouragement like it was a tired friend. Rough night, a voice asked. It was Jonah from Data Engineering, holding a mug the size of his head. Long compliance review. I said. He winced. Elise kept you late, figures. At least the reschedule gives you time to breathe. Reschedule. I straightened. What reschedule? Jonah blinked. The meeting moved to this morning. You did not see the email. My stomach dropped. No. He pulled up his inbox on his tablet, showing me the timestamp. Sent at 6:30 that morning. I opened my email, but nothing was there. No reschedule, no notice. Just silence. I refreshed 3 times before something new appeared at the top of the screen. Message recalled by sender. My pulse kicked hard. I clicked into the thread my name was missing from the recipient list. It had been sent to leadership only. A chill crept in as Jonah said. I heard Elise was on a prep call with Ridgeline earlier. I stared at him. She met with them without me. He hesitated. I probably should not get involved. He slipped away, leaving me with the truth forming like frost across my thoughts. Elise knew. She had known since morning, and she had hidden it. Before I could process any further, Elise appeared behind my chair. Too close. Her voice dipped in sugar. Maren, the Ridgeline team is already here. I turned slowly. Already. You have 5 minutes, she said, adjusting her blazer like she was preparing for applause. We cannot keep them waiting. My laptop froze again as I tried to open my Canva file. Elise watched the spinning wheel with quiet satisfaction. Every advantage had been pulled out from under me, and I had nothing left except whatever I carried in my head. The moment I stepped into the conference room, I felt the weight of too many eyes. Ridgeline's executives sat in a rigid line, suits crisp, expressions even crisper. Elise hovered near the wall, arms folded like she was waiting for a firework she had already lit. Thank you for joining us, she said brightly. Maren will guide you through our proposal. I set my laptop on the table, prayed under my breath, and opened the Canva file. The screen froze immediately. A low mechanical whine escaped from the machine, followed by an error message that sliced through my chest. Elise's voice floated forward. Is everything all right, Maren? I heard what she wanted inside that question. I also heard what I could not allow. I looked up at the executives. I apologize. I said, closing the laptop. The slides were meant to support the discussion, not drive it. If you are open to it, I would rather begin with your expansion challenges directly. A man at the center frowned. We were expecting a formal presentation. Then, let me start with clarity instead of graphics. I said, your Midwest rollout has produced 3 different customer behavior patterns. Only one is profitable. I believe the inconsistency is tied to population mobility, not brand issues. That made them shift. I grabbed a marker and walked to the whiteboard. Tell me how you are segmenting the new markets. What variables are you prioritizing? A woman at the table answered cautiously. Demographics, mostly. That is the lagging indicator, I said. What about your migration data, supply chain volatility, seasonal overlap? The room tightened with interest. Questions bounced back and forth, each exchange lifting the energy a little higher. I could feel Elise growing restless behind me, her confidence thinning with each technical point I explained without a single slide. 30 minutes later, the lead executive pushed his chair back and stood up. Eyes locked on me as if he had finally seen the real shape of the conversation. The lead executive stood with a quiet authority that made everyone stop breathing. His gaze moved from the whiteboard to me, then briefly to Elise, as if he wanted her to witness the shift in the room. This is the first conversation today that has not wasted our time, he said. Cancel the remaining vendor meetings. She is the only one addressing our real pain points. The table fell silent. Elise's smile froze so sharply that it looked painful. She recovered with a strained laugh. Wonderful. A strong team effort. But the executive shook his head. No, I am speaking about her. He nodded toward me. Maren Holt. We want her on the follow-up call. He sat down again, leaving Elise visibly rattled. Ridgeline's executives began asking more questions, this time with an urgency that felt almost protective. Every answer I gave seemed to widen the distance between me and Elise's plans. When the meeting finally ended, Elise placed a hand on my elbow. Let us debrief, she said, steering me toward the hallway before anyone could overhear. I pulled my arm free. There is nothing to debrief. They were clear. Her jaw twitched. Do not get ahead of yourself. They do not understand how collaborative this team is. They asked for me specifically. I replied. She paused long enough to let her temper surface. Be careful how you interpret things. That evening, back at my apartment, I opened my Canva history to figure out why half the graphics had failed earlier. When I clicked into the version timeline, my chest tightened. Several slides had been deleted intentionally at 10:45 on Thursday morning. I had been in a separate meeting at the time. Elise's first attempt had failed, and she would not leave it there. By Monday morning, the tone inside Summit Edge had shifted. People spoke more quietly when I walked by, like news had already been circulating in channels I was not meant to hear. It reached out first. Routine notice. The technician said over the phone, Your account has been flagged for temporary monitoring. Management request. Management, I repeated, meaning Elise. He hesitated. I cannot say that directly. The call ended with nothing clarified and everything understood. An hour later, HR pinged me. We need you for a brief performance check-in this afternoon. The representative, Claire, said, It is standard. It has never been scheduled this way. I replied. Leadership asked to move it up, she said, eyes flicking away from mine through the small screen. After the call, Trina from finance appeared at my doorway. She looked tense, her usual energy gone. Maren, can we talk privately? I closed my laptop. What is going on? She lowered her voice. I saw paperwork being drafted, severance calculations, leadership notes. They are fast-tracking a narrative. My stomach tightened. You are sure I would not tell you if I was guessing, she whispered. You need to be careful. Before I could respond, an email notification appeared on my screen, a message from Ridgeline's assistant asking to schedule the follow-up session. Seconds later, a second email dropped in, this one from Elise. Forward all Ridgeline communication to me. Do not respond directly. I will handle scheduling. I stared at the two messages stacked on top of each other. Ridgeline asking for me. Elise blocking it with corporate language as cold as stone. Trina touched my arm. Whatever she is planning, you need to get ahead of it. I nodded slowly, the weight of every closed door tightening around me. Elise was locking down every official channel. If I wanted to survive this, I needed to make a move she would never expect. I stared at Ridgeline's email for a long time before closing it and opening a blank window. If Elise controlled every channel at Summit Edge, then I needed one she could not touch. I typed slowly, choosing every word with care. This is Maren Holt. I am reaching out from my personal email due to an internal conflict that may affect communication. I want to ensure Ridgeline receives accurate information. I read it twice, then hit send before I could talk myself out of it. The reply came less than an hour later. The Chief Operations Officer would like to speak with you directly. Please provide a number. My pulse hammered as I typed it in. The call rang through. Maren Holt, a calm voice said. I appreciate you contacting us directly. Tell me what is happening on your side. I inhaled. There has been interference, I said carefully. Certain materials were altered. Communication has been restricted. I want to be transparent because the project deserves better than internal politics. There was a long silence, then a slow exhale. This aligns with our experience. The COO said, Elise Brandt managed our account years ago through her former firm. Her rigid approach nearly stalled our expansion. We terminated the contract early. My chest tightened. She hid that from us. I am not surprised. He replied, Your approach yesterday was the opposite, adaptable, perceptive. We need leadership like that. His tone shifted, direct and decisive. I would like to offer you a position here. Director level. Salary nearly double what you are earning now. I swallowed hard. That is a significant offer. You deserve it. Take the weekend to decide. Contact me Monday morning. After we disconnected, I sat still for a moment before Trina slipped into my office. She placed a small flash drive in my hand. 5 years of performance data, she said softly. Everything proving what you have delivered. If you need it, use it. The choice in front of me suddenly felt heavier than anything Elise had thrown my way. Should I step out cleanly, or make sure she finally faced what she had done? I walked into the small conference room at 8 o'clock sharp. Elise sat on one side of the table, posture razor straight. Claire from HR sat beside her with a folder so thick it looked rehearsed. Neither of them greeted me. Elise tapped her pen. Maren, thank you for coming. We have concerns regarding your recent conduct. Claire slid the folder toward me. There are documented instances where you acted outside compliance protocols. We need to address them immediately. I opened the folder. The first page accused me of unauthorized client communication. The second claimed I had withheld project documentation. The third outlined a severance package, 2 weeks of pay, and a non-compete clause barring me from analytics roles for 12 months. Elise folded her hands. This can be a smooth transition if you cooperate. I looked up. You are accusing me of misconduct based on emails you intercepted. Her lips thinned. We intercepted nothing. I reached into my bag, pulling out the flash drive Trina had given me. These are 5 years of performance data. Every deliverable, every metric, every client review. None of it supports what you are claiming. Claire shifted slightly. Elise stayed still, jaw locked. I continued. Your case mentions missing slides as evidence of negligence, but Canva logs every edit. Several of my slides were deleted on Thursday morning at 10:45. I was in a meeting with the operations director at that time. You were not, Elise snapped. You are twisting facts. No, I said quietly. I am reading logs. I slid another sheet across the table. Section 19, Clause 4 of my contract. The non-compete you added to the severance only applies if I am terminated for cause. Since I am not signing anything, and you have not proven misconduct, it does not apply. Claire inhaled sharply. Elise's face drained. I placed a sealed envelope between them. This is my resignation. Effective immediately. Elise leaned forward, voice cracking. You cannot just walk away. I met her stare. I already did. Outside the room. I could still hear Elise's voice rising, losing the composure she had built her authority on. The structure she relied on was starting to shift beneath her. Ridgeline's offer became official by Wednesday morning. The chief operations officer called me personally. We are ready when you are. Maren, your division will report directly to me. There was no hesitation in his voice. No doubt. No conditions disguised as compliments. I accepted. And for the first time in months, I felt the strain in my shoulders ease. On my first day, one of the senior analysts looked at me and said, "We heard what you did in that meeting. We have been waiting for someone who leads like that. No fear, no politics, just work. Just merit." Meanwhile, Summit Edge began unraveling quietly. Trina texted me 2 days after I left. Audit started. Elise is pacing the halls like she knows something is coming. A week later, she called during her lunch break, whispering into the phone. They pulled her accounts. All of them. Documentation is missing. She changed timestamps on deliverables. Leadership is furious. I listened in silence as Trina continued. They are not firing her. They are stripping her title, taking her off client work, and assigning oversight on everything she touches. People walk the other way when she enters a room. I pictured Elise in that office, the same office where she once told me to remember who leads and who follows. Now she had no one left to intimidate. Later that night, an email appeared in my personal inbox. From Elise Brandt, subject you. The message was one line. I hope you know what you have done. I read it once and felt nothing but clarity. I had not ruined her career. I had not exposed her in anger. I had simply stopped carrying the weight of her mistakes. Without someone to buffer her, the truth finally reached the surface. All the stories she twisted, all the narratives she controlled, they collapsed the moment silence was no longer holding them up. I closed the email, turned off my phone, and walked back into my new office at Ridgeline. Competence had faced insecurity, and only one of them still had work to do.